Hi everybody. If you're watching my videos, one thing I can ask, please subscribe to my channel if you can. It helps me out a lot. And any other information related to my content you could check out in the description below. So today what I wanted to talk about, I was reading this little, born by birth Serbian Orthodox on my dad's side. So I was reading the little Serbian Orthodox prayer book that I found at my house. And at the very end of it, it has the 10 Commandments. And most religions and spiritual traditions have some sort of rules or regulations to follow in order to get closer to God. In Buddhism, there's the Noble Eightfold Path. In the Yoga Sutras, there's the 8 limbs of yoga. And in Jewish heritage and in Hinduism, there's many different scriptures, many different holy laws and rules, etc., depending on what level you're looking at it from. So in Christianity, one of the big ones is the 10 Commandments. And so basically what I'm going to talk about here is how I understand these 10 Commandments and how they can be used basically to clean your act up. Because no meditative practices, no spiritual growth is really possible when you're acting out, when you don't have your act in order. So this is kind of going to talk to us about cleaning it up. Number 1, I'm the Lord thy God. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. So, to take this, just to tell you how it is, if you look at this from the aspect of not saying, sometimes it can be misinterpreted to mean the Christian idea of God is the only God and everyone else is wrong. The best way to look at this, I am the Lord thy God, thou shalt have no other gods before me, is that God is a singularity, God is one, and that I shall have no other gods ahead of that, such as if I make a god out of drugs, if I make a god out of drama, if I make a god out of gambling, if I make a god out of food, if I make a god out of sex, if I make a god out of gossip, if I make a god out of procrastination. A lot of times people make gods out of negative things that they act like they don't want, but really that they're trapped and identified with, such as if I make a god out of my depression, if I make a god out of my anxiety, if I make a god out of my anger, my low self-esteem, my fear, things I don't think that I want, but really I completely identify with and I cling to them for my sense of self. Or, you could put things before God. If I make a god out of video games. If I make a god out of self-righteousness, how about that one? If I make a god out of being good and righteous, even that's still a trap on the path. So thou shalt have no other gods besides the one. It's all one. Thou shalt not make unto thyself any graven image. Thou shalt not bow down to them, nor serve them. So that one's very similar in modern times. I mean, basically you don't put any image of anything before the one. So I don't think any of those things I talked about, I don't pay homage to that. The TV is a great example. So a TV, instead of being in a holy room and praying to God, in many households around the world, especially, I know in the United States, the altar is the television, the couch and the television. And I've realized more and more as I've talked to people and thought about it and realized what people do, I realized that when people aren't working, at night, once their days are over, a lot of people pretty much just watch TV for a long time, a lot of the time. And I'm not saying everybody does, but I noticed that. And that is an altar that's making unto you a graven image. And it's not that TV in itself is bad or anything like that, but when your consciousness just drills into that, when all your conscious energy is going into that TV, that single aspect of God is replacing the totality view of God, and it's draining your energy. So number 3, thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain. So, basically you shouldn't use God's name or the name of anything holy to perpetuate any illegal acts, any immoral acts, any violence. You shouldn't use God's name to make people feel bad. You shouldn't get on a spiritual high horse to make people feel guilty or ashamed. any of that. To me, that is using God's name in vain. Not. It means a lot more than just saying "God damn" or something like that. So number 4, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. So really, Emmett Fox talks about this in some of his writing, is that ultimately everywhere you go and everything you do should become the Sabbath. But this is really important because, we are a society where we really overwork ourselves a lot. How many of us give ourselves one day out of the week to take it easy and dedicate ourselves to God? I mean, I have one friend that I know does this every Saturday of the week and makes a commitment to do so. But I don't know any other people that do that. So it's important, basically what it's telling me here is it's important to set time aside to be with God. Because until I'm in a spiritual enough place, in a deep enough place within myself, until my awareness is great enough to the point that I can be with God everywhere, that I can use everything as spiritual practice, it helps immensely to set aside separate time, to take it easy. And that means not just to relax. Doesn't mean, just have a relaxing day, sit on the couch, chill. No, it means to take time to be with God. Either to fast, to pray, to meditate, to study scripture, whatever the case may be. Take time to be with God, maybe a day out of the week. If you're not committed to that, at least a few hours in a day out of the week, and build up from there. And then these next ones are really simple and they're so true. I mean, number 5, honor thy father and thy mother, and it may be well with thee, and that thy days may be long upon the earth. And I know everyone's got different family situations, and some people have trauma and pain with fathers and mothers, and I know by no means is it the same for everybody all the time. But in general, honor beings is even a better way to say it. Honor your father and your mother is just the simple, straightforward. I mean, honor your family and friends. Honor whoever you come in contact with. Honor and respect people. That'll bring you closer to God. Thou shalt not kill. So that means, obviously, physically, we don't want to murder other people. Mentally, and it is about the intention, which is what's stressed in Buddhism and what Jesus stresses too in the adultery example that we'll get to in a second. So murder, it really is done in thought. When you have angry thoughts, violent thoughts towards others, that is a form of killing. It really is, because it's the intention behind it that makes the new karma, that creates the act. Also, you can look at it, does it extend to animals, etc.? Well, yeah, in a sense it does. In part of nature is we do live and feed off of each other, but generally the less killing you do to any beings, the better, and the more in harmony you are with God. Number 7, thou shalt not commit adultery. And this is what Jesus went on to say, like it says in the Old Testament you shouldn't commit adultery. Well, also he says you shouldn't even look at another woman in lust, or you've committed adultery in your mind. And again, he's saying it's the intention that counts. And who would have thought? I mean, these are simple, but they're so true. If you want to get closer to God and clean up your act, don't commit adultery. Don't cheat on your significant other. And, try to abstain as best you can from having thoughts of adultery. Thou shalt not steal. That one's straightforward and simple as well. Don't take things that aren't yours. Don't steal money. Don't do bribes. Don't do those little stealings that don't matter, like take a pen that's not really yours, or a pair of scissors. And I remember reading in a book I read still called Meditations on the Mat by Ralph Gates, I believe. He was at like a yoga center or yoga retreat or something, and he took a pair of scissors, or he was going to, or he didn't, but he ended up putting them back either way. He either didn't take them or he put them back, but a pair of scissors that he thought he needed. And I was like, well, what's the big deal? A pair of scissors. And now I understand what he meant, because as your awareness grows, I mean, those little things are the important things. That is what makes the act and the character. And as you get more aware, that's why it said the one with the greatest awareness has the greatest responsibility, because as you become more aware, you're less able to do even those little things. So thou shalt not steal. Simple enough. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. So that means, don't lie about people Don't gossip about people. Don't badmouth people. You know, when you're telling your side of the story to somebody else and you know you're making it sound like you're in the right. That's what I do all the time. Make it sound like, I don't really tell them what I did or my part of it. Like the way I'm telling you the story is so you'll be like, yeah, you're right. I don't know why that person acted like that or did that. You're totally in the right. That's bearing false witness against thy neighbor, saying things that aren't true, throwing people's names under the bus, etc. And finally, number 10, thou shalt not covet anything that is thy neighbor's. Wow. I mean, how beautiful would life be if you spent your life not coveting other people's things, not wishing I was you, not wishing I had more money, not wishing I had your car or your job or your life or your work schedule or your friends or your husband or your wife or your kids or your dogs or your house or lived in the same low geographic location as you, etc. So by not coveting anything that is thy neighbor's, you cultivate more peace of mind. All these things, it's not just like denying yourself pleasure, like, oh, I do all these things, yeah, I'm a good person, deny myself pleasure. In the long run, these denials of false pleasure bring you real bliss and real serenity and an actual calm mind that can look inward and endeavor to find God.